dobry Państwu. Ja nazywam się Roman Imielski.
Good afternoon. My name is Roman Imielski, first deputy of the editor of Gazeta Wyborcza. First of all, thank you for coming so numerous to our panel about dreams. I think it's important also to you, I guess. Before I present our great panelists, I wanted to ask such a question. And please raise your hand. Who of you dreamt about something recently? Great, just great, super. I was looking here at my data from the report that we will discuss in a moment. 93.5% of Poles dream. And that is really cool. Here, looking at the frequency, it would be very similar. So dreams are now very important. I wanted to present you Maia Mazurkiewicz, Chairwoman of the PZU Foundation. We have the report thanks to her effort. She is my colleague and she's a specialist to counteract disinformation. Miss Aleksandra Trapp, infuture.institute, she conducted the research. It's an institution that makes a forecast about a future. And these dreams is something about the future, I would say. Sławomir Sierakowski, known to many of you, political criticism, but as well, what I keep repeating, co-author of best research on electorate, together with Professor Sadura. Warmly welcome. And a special guest, Professor of Kozminski Institution, Marcin Piątkowski. Normally he would be in India, but now he's here in Poland in Freedom Games. He's an economist, but also an author of a very interesting book. I recommend at least to go through it. Golden Age, the title of the book, but subtitle is longer and is more interesting. How Poland became a European leader of growth and what future awaits Poland. And we are going to talk about that with Mr. Professor as well. So let's go to our dreams now and the research on how Poles dream. The first question to Maia, she will briefly present us the report. It is available on PZU stand. Later when you leave this hall you can take one. And of course I need to also advertise my newspaper on gazetawyborcza.pl. You can also access this report. I'm really glad to be a patron of Freedom Games, but also we became a patron of this report. When we received this suggestion from Maia, I was glad. Again, something easy, not only the policy as usually, or international matters. So the first question, Maia, where did idea come from? Why about dreams? Well, first of all, from dreams, it was my dream to finally present this report. But when we thought about it, preparing a strategy from PZU, we talked about social resilience. The thing is that we today build our future, and today, as we sit here on Freedom Games, we talk about uncertainty, we talk about fears, about what we are scared or afraid of, and that's where we build our future. We need to build our future made of hope. And what this report shows is that exactly these dreams give us hope. They give us a purpose of life. They give us vision of who we want to be. And that's exactly the answer. Why do we have this report? Because we believe that we together can. The dreams about, in a moment we will say about what we can accomplish. So let's go to the presentation that you prepared related to this report so that you, ladies and gentlemen, can get familiar with key results of this report. Exactly, we asked the question, can Poles dream? And most of us answered that yes, we can. And that's great, because we have our Polish smile that cannot be always too optimistic. We often afraid to dream, but this is very important, and it's very good to build future based on dreams, on hope, not on fear. We considered whether these dreams are fantasies only, but no, it turned out that it is our goal as well. 59% of Poles consider it to be a goal, and only almost 20% consider it to be something distant from reality. So I wonder what you are dreaming about. Think about it. Maybe you can share it with us. And maybe you talk about that with your nearest people around you. That's what I was thinking about doing this research with everyone around you, with lady in a market, with your family, with colleagues at work. That makes you open. The barriers we have, and we are polarized society. We live in the times where when this information attacks us, we have plenty of fears, and we are afraid of the relationships. But they open us. And that's what I also want to talk about. So what do we dream about? So the results of the report show that we dream about normal, decent life, as we called it. We thought if there will be dreams about flying to space. No, we don't want to go to space. We just want to have a good life. And that's about it. It's about that we, as Poles, we have a lot of things that we can appreciate now, be grateful for. And the dreams are our goals, in fact. 40.2% of Poles dream about healthy and peace, calmness. 20% about experience and traveling. 15% about financial safety. And those are things that speak about our safety and vision. It's a very simple vision on what we want. We can base our future on that. If we want that, being Poles, let's do that. Let's make it happen. Now, the research will say more about that. Ola will tell more about that. They were divided into quantitative and qualitative data. We divided age groups, and we can clearly see here that group 18-24 years dream about relationships, family and relationships is 19%. And if we go through all groups, age categories, these friends, family relationships are a key factor for us. So by looking on where we are now, after the pandemics, having war outside our eastern border, talking about what waits us in the future, we need a community. A community is a key factor. It's something that builds and gives hope, because we as people, we need this community. We need to talk to each other, and since we have a polarization that is used in a certain way, it impacts our dreams. We want peace of mind and this social aspect that is so important. We are stronger when we are a society. In this report results, you can also see that we examined fears. We thought about that we cannot speak about dreams without touching fears. We decided to ask also about fears when we ask people about dreams. And we can see that it's a kind of a reflection. One thing we dream of, the reflection is we are afraid of the opposite. If we dream about healthy, we are afraid of being sick. We are afraid about the quick increase in AI, and we are afraid of our future when it comes to work. I will only add a very short thing. These fears about being alone is a result also of other social researches. We strongly see that young people, especially young people, mention deeply about love, relationships, and they feel to be lonely, most of them, of the group. So we see the challenges and dreams that we need to fulfill. And the next thing is we looked at dreams and fears about the future. So what we saw just now, it's what we dream about here and now, but as a future institute, since it works with how our future can work, we looked at what fears we can have in the future, what dreams are important to us. So we have dehumanization fear of permacrisis, and fear of being alone. And dreams for the future is a bit nostalgical desire to go back to the past. We will talk about this nostalgia a bit more. Is it always better for us when we are children? What about this space outside the social media? Please don't say social media. Media is Wyborcza, Gazeta, it's New York Times. You can say social platforms. Right, let's call it social platforms. So we have dreamed to live together in agreement. So when we dream, we have a time to hear to ourselves. When we dream, we can hear what we really want, what are our desires. Dreaming about being a part of something, so about the community, and self-fulfillment. Dream that we want to decide about our life as well. We also dream about how our future, our elderly years would look like. And the most important question, what do you dream about? And you can also answer this question by scanning the QR code. Also download the report. It's very interesting. I would add one more piece of data here. That's first of all an appeal to us, to men. It turns out that very many of us dream, as we can see from this report, but with the answer, I don't dream, only 4% of women answered like that. But hello, men, is it that we don't have any dreams? We have dreams. We need to improve these statistics for the future. Exactly. We, women or girls' power, I appreciate that, of course. My next question is for Ms. Aleksandra, because your institute conducted this research. What I thought about is today a big problem about data, especially quantitative data, what I choose during the election, who am I supporting. There's a lot of refusals during these surveys. When we ask about dreams, about community, at some point people were asked about something normal. Of course, we would clearly know who we support, Kaczynski or Mr. Tusk. What the situation looked like with these refusals to answer. Well, it was surprising when Foundation turned to us and said we want to examine dreams. First of all, we said it's a great idea, it's a very fresh idea, but at the same time we knew it will be difficult to examine because right now researchers' surveys usually speak about what we fear, what are our concerns. So the dreams, indeed, when we did a quantitative and qualitative data, we also performed workshops during first discussions, these meetings, these interviews that we conducted, or these deeper discussions, conversations, they were difficult. It was difficult to ask Poles directly what they dream about. It's what Maia said. Not everyone wants directly say what they dream about. So building this trust that someone could tell us about their dreams among Poles was quite a challenge. Very often we heard answers. I don't want to say because I'm afraid it will not come true. Also, men quite often, or like with voting into parties, men don't want to admit that they dream. They consider it to be not manly enough. It was like winning in the lottery. It's not conversation about that. So these barriers open a man to start to talk about dreams. It doesn't mean that men don't dream. They have just a bit different language when we speak about dreams. At first there was some smirks and smiles. But if we do the interview right, we can show what Poles really dream about. And I really encourage you to see the report. There's a lot of interesting quotes on it and interesting data. We base on quotes of Poles, of responders. What we wanted is that this conversation about dreams was a bit about to be a sensitive manometer of our needs, social behaviors, but also how we can look into the future. What generally can build us as a society, not only on polycrises and fears, but also considering what we want to dream about, what we can dream about. And again, with such a note of because Poles are very pragmatic. Dreams for us are a goal. If we feel our agency, we even more want to fulfill our dreams step by step. And what we need to highlight is that our dreams can be a road sign to tell us how to build our future, not to build it only on fears, not on what we are afraid of, but to build on what we dream about, to inhale some hope into us. Quite radical hope, but it's not about wearing a pink glasses and saying that everything will be great, fantastic, we can do it, but to see that certain actions, even small steps, can lead us to that our dreams are step by step achieved, implemented, so that we will build on hope.
I spoke about the report on dreams, but we cannot avoid politics. Well, I don't know all the questions from the survey, but with such polarization of society, there must have been dreams like let Kaczynski never rule again, let Tusk never rule again. Well, in the research, when we asked about dreams, those were very personal for us as people, as individuals, and they were focused internally. We spoke of dreams regarding my closest family. Poles speak about dreams regarding relations, health, traveling, that they have individual goals. And what's interesting, there were dreams regarding peace in the world, politics, etc. But outside of this circle, they were very, very seldom, at least in the very first question. So, but yet they came up. What should be noted is that when we speak of dreams regarding our surroundings, our environment, and the world we live in, they were far higher in young people, and then they went a bit down because we enter a part of life where family is more important, safety, the coach generation begins, and later these dreams regarding how we perceive the world go up after 55. So the youngest and then those older groups. And statistically, they spoke more about dreams, politics, geopolitical situation. Well, from the report, we see that directly there is a sentence saying the most courageous in dreaming are those between the 18th and the 24th year of life. That's pretty natural. They are young, they dream courageously. I remember we dreamt courageously when we were their age. Professor Piątkowski and your book. Before the meeting, we agreed that the 3.5 decades since the collapse of communism, when we turned a democratic state, with some deficiencies, yet successfully, and that should be the golden age. Not like the history says, our 16th century, the old Zygmunt August. That age should be named silver. And the professor has hard data for it. As we read from the report, dreams are a goal, and Poles want to strive for it. They set a goal and go for it. So I believe that our country, with all the success achieved in the 3.5 decades, was made of dreams. I spent with that guy 17 years in the socialist country. I remember empty shelves in stores and this enormous enthusiasm of the 1990s. We may dispute what could have been done better, which groups lost, which won, but the whole of the country is set as an example, and I believe it was made of dreams. Would you consent, Professor? And why Golden Age? I agree. In Poland, it's difficult to talk about it, but never in our over 1,000-year-long history have we lived better. Why? I've been talking for some years about the golden age, golden era, because as the whole society, not just the 5% of nobility from 16th century, as the whole society, we have income and the quality of life that where the distance between us and the West is the lowest in history. Our income is more or less 80% of the average Western European income. We've never been that close. Our quality of life is in many terms higher than in countries that are richer than we are. Many Poles, even here in Łódź, came to me and said, I read your book. I recently had guests from France, Spain, UK, wherever, and they said, how great Poland is, how good quality of life you have, how clean it is, how safe it is. Never in our history has it been like that. We live now better than other richer nations. The data prove we live better than the Koreans, Japanese, and others. I may provoke and surprise you. Not many people are smiling. According to anonymous surveys by the European Eurostat, anonymous, because we would never admit it in public, in terms of level of happiness, Poland is in top 5 happiest nations throughout Europe. Never in the history of Poland has it been so. Observing the global data in a year or 2 years' time, regarding the level of happiness, we will exceed the Americans. If we do so, well, you can't say it's not a golden age. As the name says, golden age is not 35 years, it's 100 years, it's a century. We should speak it, celebrate it. It should be the source of our national pride that for the very first time in our history, we are so successful economically. For 35 years, we've been the fastest growing economy in Europe. Nobody has come close to us. We are the fastest growing economy in the world, second best behind China. We are the global number 1, say for China, but again, 35 years, 1/3 of the golden century. We need 2 more such periods when we keep progressing. For me, such dreams, as you see that in the report, is not dreams that are partially fulfilled. I believe in the millennial history of our country, we had millions of Poles whose dream never came true. We are a generation that is extremely lucky. We might have landed in a totally different age. We might be a peasant in 16th century under occupation during the war, in the socialist Poland. I was 14 then. We live in a free country. Not everything is perfect, but we live well. What's next? I believe we can discuss it in the second round more. But that's my question. What's next? My subtitle is, what's the future ahead of us? What should we be dreaming in the future? The good news is, do not believe the experts, economists in particular, that we are about to see a crisis, we would go adrift. It's already been better, the future is hopeless. Well, for at least a decade, we are doomed to success. We would be like the Lewandowski of economic growth. We speak here of Robert Lewandowski. Robert Lewandowski, of course. He's still going to score goals. I believe Polish economy will be catching up with the West. A couple of days ago, the International Monetary Fund published economic forecasts that say that Poland would be the fastest growing major economy in Europe till the end of this decade. I believe that Poles, as we all are here, do not only have small dreams just to be close to those guys. It's the pivotal decade ahead of us. It will decide whether we take advantage of the greatest opportunity in our history, not to live well, have barbecue parties, pick up mushrooms, but to become one of the 3 European leaders next to France and Germany. that will require new dreams, as we all have dreams, 93.5% by the report. And the others simply do not admit they do have. So I believe 100%. Their dreams are wild. So they won't disclose in front of women, but that's another topic. So I believe we have our individual dreams, but I'm very much worried that as a society, a nation, the elites do not have such dreams. Once we had this dream to be back in Europe, to be in the West, to join the EU, join the NATO, if I ask you today how our elites pronounce our dreams, the vision for the Poland's development by 2050, what's Poland going to look like, what society should be, do we have such a dream? Two people, I believe, we do not have such a dream. And in order to keep progressing, to become one of the 3 European leaders, we need to have such a dream. We need to articulate it on the basis of the throughout whole society, so that we know where we want to be in 2050. My vision is to be one of the 3 key, most powerful European economies. It's an ambition vision, yet it's realistic. 35 years ago, when communism collapsed in Poland, there was not one expert in Poland and abroad. I checked it when I wrote the book. There was not one expert who would bet $1 that Poland would succeed. Everybody believed it would be okay if Poland ceases to be a source of problems, if we only cover the hole in our economic boat. The others, Czech, Hungarians and others, would be successful. This year, our income will exceed those of Japanese. So Wałęsa was clear. For those who don't remember, like Wałęsa, everybody laughed when Wałęsa said Poland was supposed to be the second Japan. After 40 years, he was right. And that was the dream. I had a dream. That's what Wałęsa had. And it's achieved. I'm saying that I have ideas how to implement the vision. We need this new dream. Let us make it that for the very first time in history we will use the opportunity to be among top 3 in Europe. In the second round, I will ask you about some more things related for the future, but the question goes to Sławek. It's going to be political. Together with Professor Sadura, you test the constituencies when you ask Poles about polarization. Everybody says we would like it to go down. It's our dream that politicians made agreements. But if you ask, then would you sit at the table with Kaczynski or with Tusk? No, never. When you research these constituencies, voters, this polarization may weaken Poland in its development. Do they have a dream of a more delicate politics or more civilized politics? I understand that you dream of the impossible sometimes, but sometimes you dream of the possible, as Poland proved. That's a very soft and volatile category, but interesting in terms of sociology. And I understand it's a beginning of the tests. We could add some more dimensions. The demographic aspect is very important, as you could see. That's most interesting in the report. Every social age group dreams of something different. If the dreams were to be fulfilled 35 years ago, the data may not change, but the numbers could change within age group. At my birth year, we had 700,000 people born a year. Now we have 250,000 people born a year. Politics, social life is dream fight. Whose dream would be implemented in politics, at work, in the labor market? if, moreover, another dimension that is pivotal is, back to the first one. What is typical of the young and of the old, of course, apart from what they dream about. The young dream about the future, the older dream about getting back to the past, or they dream of what they had, what they felt. When it comes to politics, there is this clash. What is typical of the young generation is that they have the vote, but they do not use it. They vote on social platforms. There you can hear them. There are far less people, 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, outside of Facebook. What is typical of the older generation, they can vote. They are very numerous, but this old generation is not heard. I came asked, what about young generation, the cult of young generation? That's a sort of Instagram mass culture question. There is not much of young generation. It's radical, it's variable, it's a poor political actor because that's a generation, contrary to others, is expecting the power come to them instead of trying to take the power. That the authority will respond to petitions, to a process. They will not build institutions. It's power sharing rather than power struggle.
It's also about that, as opposed to an older generation, they can react by leaving Poland and fulfilling these dreams somewhere else. It's a new category that rich persons, in the past they could not take their land with them, but now he can take a capital and leave. The fact that Poles buy tens of thousands of flats in Spain, so that demographic dimension would be interesting, to add this dimension about competition and a certain direction, whether we dream about future or past, would be also very interesting sociologically. A short clarification, Slavek is a sociologist of education. Yes, I really encourage everyone to find out more. It's very interesting, especially in Poland now. It's also so relevant that if we see how money is allocated, Marcin is an economist, you can see that capital is flowing to the services that are provided to the eldest persons. Those are most expensive services. Last 3 years of life of a person seem to take 25% of all the funds. So we have a case in a situation when public service is dismantled, which also impacts the dreams. Who of young people are dreaming about retirement? So it fell out from the spectrum. Everyone is dreaming about himself. He thinks that he will not get the retirement pension. That's the difference also between contemporary generation and previous ones. So on one side, this young generation does not have the capacity, much smaller capacity of what state can give, and older generation have bigger, so gray gold, this category. So what I find important is to looking deeper for these concrete answers, because answers are not so different at the first glance. This data is similar to what general would think. 52 to 58% numbers are a bit general. It's impossible to go so deep in one research, but that would take another second, third step. That's my sociologist speaking. My provoking question to you, political question. I thought to myself while reading this report, considering your research, because I think we will agree that a political project thrown by some political party during recent years, well, it made it through It gave some political capitalization. It gave result. It was 500 plus, 500 plus. Wasn't it a dream about stability for so many families in Poland? And right now, no one dares to take away this dream. So Donald Tusk increases this support for families. Wasn't that fulfillment of that dream for families that have small income but 2 or 3 children? That's a very interesting question. And again, it combines this element of these sociological and economical aspects, because 500 plus, this program, was something more than just financial support, like Central Communication Port, CPK. And I think care infrastructure investment would be better than this kind of solution like 500 plus. But it helped to treat our fears, our complexes. It was quite recently during this period of golden age for Poland, because in Poland, civic platform failed during 2 elections in 2015, having the best economic results in all OECD, so going lower than 20% of redundancy. It happened during that time, going down from the deficit to 3%, with aggregated growth of 25%. And government falls, president falls, loses. So this economic category in Poland should be read also with the scope of dignity. Another thing about social transfers. This government not only gives 500 plus, but it allocates much more costs for social transfers. I'm not an expert of economy. Maybe, Professor, you can correct me. But I think we pay on a percentage of GDP similar to France. But if we close your eyes and you hear social transfer, you hear law and order, not civic platform. So if you look at the changes, not only National Recovery Plan, if you count all the things that emerge, it's not more and more smart and more rationally things implemented, though when Paul will think what Law and Order Party offered, and from the government and infrastructural programs, well, everyone is disappointed now. It happens too slowly, not enough. So that also shows that electoral effect indeed is rooted on these fears and dreams level. And it doesn't correspond to economic effect. So this government is much better in this regard. They inform about many people. But in general, many things are not true. I would say that indeed it is so that if you want to wrap it right into dreams, economical policy, if you don't wrap it into dreams, you lose elections, and that you need to remember. Now I'd like to address Maia. Together with Maia, we look closely to geopolitical issues, safety, wars. We as Wyborcza newspaper, we are involved into supporting Ukraine. As a newspaper, we of course support Ukraine, but also we personally visit front lines. I also visit frontline. If you want to support our mission, you can do that on zrzutka.pl. We delivered a couple of dozens of convoys for civilians and for military servants in Ukraine. We really need to support them. Serhiy Żadan and Andrzej Stasio also mentioned that. I wanted to ask about one another thing that surprised me in this report. It's quite abstract for the responders, but there was no dream about peace on earth. Of course, it's a dream, but it's like the genuine dream of real dreamer. So I didn't want to be like Miss Universe, or that surprised me. It was missing. Ola said about that a bit. Our dreams here and now are more pragmatic, but they are a result of what times we live in, because we live in times when we have a lot of such fear, because what happens politically, we change the policy is changing. Being a Poland, we have a war outside our eastern border. We have to be stronger. We have to support each other. We need community that would be present in this dream. We need to clearly build it. And when we are attacked, bombarded everywhere by subjects that make us feel rejected, frightened, terrified, that we are afraid of the future, it's difficult to dream about peace because it seems to be impossible. And these dreams that I feel this way are real, and we can fulfill them and support them. I opened the report on the page about emotions, because emotions rule us no matter what we want, or in policy. Politicians use that. The emotions rule us everywhere. If we talk about Russia, that has great operations of influence in Poland, we have this informational warfare. They want to polarize us. They want to make us fear, because we close when we are afraid. We stop thinking about what is possible or what we can create. We respond according to freeze, flight, or fight. We don't know what to do. We close to everything else. And we need these positive emotions, and we don't have them there. It's very difficult to find some positive emotions during this time. And as Frank said, we need this goal of life, and these positive emotions build this meaning of life to us. When I read in the report, this hope is one of the highest emotions that dreams can bring us, and it's something that unites us. You said that dreams are different in different age groups. Some are similar, but they have different proportions. But when we talk about dominating emotion, hope, among the youngest and among oldest, they are 90% something. They are huge. These dreams show us that we want something. They motivate us. They give us capacity to be happy. Well, exactly. Not just emotions, but also I would mention function of dreams. What is the function of dreams in our life? That's another question we asked. It's a function to create meaning. We often heard it's a meaning of my life. When I dream something, imagine something, I would even go further. I read the report, and even people would respond that my work, money I have, is for fulfilling my dreams. Exactly, we have some dreams, and we need a lot of elements to fulfill their dreams. Just like money, we need them. But meaning-creating role of dreams is also very important nowadays. It gives a feeling of aspiration, something that I try to achieve. There was one very touching interview with one of the ladies. She said, in fact, it's the meaning of my life, but it also saved my life. In some way, I stick to my dreams, and it's something that builds me. So, except for emotions, I would also mention functions of dreams. And that's a great introduction to the question I wanted to ask to Professor Piątkowski, because I agree, we ceased to have dreams as society, as the nation. First it was desire to be West, then being a part of NATO, EU. I will tell you a story from my life. Yes, we have these dreams, we accomplished that, indeed, but we lack plans for the future. I will share my story from my life. We dreamt to travel around Europe without border control. Someone who remembers border checks knows how revolutionary Copernicus revolution, these changes. I went to Austria for skiing, and the day we entered Schengen zone, and my colleagues said they kept calling me from the editor's office, and they asked, "So, did you get to that Czech Republic's border?" I said, "Not yet." So they called me again. "So are you there already at the Czech border?" "Yes, I reached it." "So was there any control?" "Yes, I just drive through like I was going from Warsaw to Katowice." And to Austria, the same calls. It was a huge dream to join European countries, to feel like friends, like Germany. and this stamp on our European certificate. But what complete dreams should be? What specific should that be? Some huge investments in AI, or at least building central communication port. So first, maybe I will prove you that I'm a real Pole, and I start with complaining, because three things during the last 35 years went not so good: demographics, inequalities, and innovations. Why demographics? Because we didn't manage to find the right way to slow down demographic crisis, where we are now already. Poland is shrinking. 150,000 Poles a year is getting older in a very quick pace, quicker than other countries around the world. It's a complicated discussion what to do about that. Another thing is inequalities in income. Main Statistic Office calms us down, saying that Poland has this inequality smaller than in Scandinavia, which is very surprising, but please check the data. In my opinion, in reality, and looking on the data that is downloaded, actual data, not answers from surveys, but from tax reports, are higher among other countries where similar research was done. And it's a problem because more than 2 million Poles. Still, I don't say it's a nirvana, it's a golden age, but we still have 2 million Poles living in poverty. In Lodz, you can also see that. The recent data shows that it increased during Lauren Ori ruling time, no matter the transfers.
Yes, it went down last year a bit, though 5% of Poles, 2 million people, live in relative poverty. Then, innovation, technologies, globalization. Although we have achieved a lot, when I'm in New Delhi, Beijing, or Washington, and I ask people, what do you think when I say Poland? Well, Lewandowski, Chopin, but not high-tech Polish products, high-tech Polish service, and it's a disaster. We had 35 years to invent it, but we have some. But the PZU, I was in Germany recently. What's the difference in the digitalization of everyday life between us and the Germans? Germans have it much worse. They are very much surprised that they can use e-identity card. We have had it for many years. Obywatel and Blick beat even the US, where I spent 1/3 of my adult life. We are the leaders here. We can settle our accounts with the tax authority 3 minutes online. If I was supposed to wrap my dreams politically as advice for PM Tusk, beat the German, buy the German. Either. Jarosław Kaczyński says beat the Germans. Today is a great moment. The Germans are in economic stagnation because of the errors they made. Ever since the pandemics, the German economy has grown by 0%, we by 15%. There are lots of medium-sized German companies that have no idea what to do. They are begging to be bought out. And this is the moment for Polish companies to go westward and take over the market, technologies and brands of those German companies. That's the first thing to do. Then, what should Poland do to fulfill this new dream so that we are one of the 3 European leaders? I've been saying for some time of the 5E program: institutions, investments, innovations, immigration, inclusion. Institutions, meaning only 1/3 of Polish entrepreneurs feel safe in the Polish legal system. How are they supposed to develop and conquer the world when they are afraid regulations may change in a moment? Investments. I have always supported the central transport hub, and I contributed to the government's change of opinion. It's not going to be an empty meadow in Baranów. We are going to build it. Poland is underinvested, despite our 20 years in the EU, despite our motorways that are better than German ones. We have property that is per capita in Poland only 1/3 what is per capita in Germany. That shows we can afford the Polish jet fighter, Polish e-vehicles, whatever moves, because we are a junior with a body of an 800 meters runner. We need muscles to fight against the best in the world. We need to build a human capital, so at 10 years we can have another dream that Poland, for the first time in history, in modern history, a Polish university is top 100 global universities. Not first 500, but first 100. Why not? There is no biological, natural reason to prevent it. Smart immigration. I remember during the socialist time, which was the center to attract foreigners from throughout the world. When I worked with the Vietnamese government, in that government there were many Vietnamese who spoke Polish because learned it here in Łódź in the 1980s. Why not repeat it? Inclusion. The whole economic development would be senseless if it's not divided in such a way that all Poles win on it, gain on it. In the report, ladies wrote that the key reason for Poles' fear is the fear of financial future. That shows it's not about growing as a country. This GDP should be in everybody's wallet, not only in Warsaw at the Wilanów district. I live there. That's the richer district of Warsaw. We are supposed to have cheap supermarket even. So to sum it up, dreams are needed so that we can be motivated and mobilized so that we want to fight for a better Poland. You won't have it without dreams. Without dreams, this best opportunity will not come true. We should have the vision, the dream, articulate it on a daily basis, be proud of what we have achieved in the past 35 years, like never before in our history, and follow the 5 I's to know what to do. Sławek, political question to you. What should we dream about in politics? What should our politics be in 5-10 years? When we observe the world, it's not optimistic. Populists are growing, extremists are growing, on the left, on the right. The national strategy of mental health, and I'm not joking, it's a serious issue. What is actively deleted from Poles' dreams is we hear nothing about the war that is right behind the border and that has been present in our history regularly. We are post-traumatic society, wars, uprisings, communism. The first reaction of a person with a trauma is to keep your defense and save whatever safety you can keep, not to go far into future or into present. What Marcin is saying, we met 20 years ago, is we do not accept the success. We do not let ourselves understand it. The point is that the data is sort of next to us. They do not make us enthusiastic. Why do we have the rule of the right-wing parties who do not tell us how good we are, that we should cooperate with the Germans, exceed the Germans? No, we need to take money from Germany for Second World War reparations. We have this post-traumatic attitude, and the pandemic changed a lot here. When we research Poles' need after the COVID-19 pandemic and after the beginning of the full-scale war, all of a sudden, top 3 most articulated expectations from the state included mental health. Now it's the topic that people even talk in villages. They are not afraid to speak about it. And health education is a good example. That was obstructed, not just the peasants' part. It was an excellent program, curriculum by Barbara Nowacka, then cut, reduced, and instead of introducing it as semi-compulsory, remove some topics and introduce it fully compulsory, we went back. And that is a topic that would give us a minimum of safety on our private level, health level, social media level, so that then you can dream and acknowledge our successes. And I need to add one more dimension. When I speak about dreams of the younger and older, how many of the age group there are, I would also differentiate between men and women. When there is a revolution, if there is a revolution, that will be a global war of men and women, because the diversity here is enormous. The dreams are different. The men want to go back. The eruption of masculinity is on the 11th of November. Women dream about the future. They are better equipped for the future. An example, I hope I'm not mistaken, but among 600 municipalities in Poland, in over 200, men up to 35 years of age, half of men in such municipalities live with parents. If you ask about the number of municipalities where a woman lives with parents, well, the resentment scale is growing and the direction of dreams is different. Past versus future. Well, it's not in the report because there is a lot in the research. We discuss the dreams of the future in the report, and there is this dream of coming back to the past. And I agree, it's not in the report. There is overrepresentation of the elderly who dream about what we used to have. But there is one dream, we are running out of time, that binds all the groups together. That's a dream of belonging. We all, regardless of our age, need new integration models in different dimensions, starting from this loneliness trend that affects all of us. We spoke about the elderly, but remember about the young groups who face many challenges. Loneliness in this group is highest. We should address it. Loneliness is feeling of being alone in a crowd. The young people have a problem. I need to cut in. My younger daughter, she's 20 now. The generation that survived the pandemic, closing the school, lost a lot from regular socialization. That's why I'm saying about one of many dreams, but it's particularly important. So we look for new integration models for all groups. They will need something different. This is something to build on the relations, the integration. We had inclusion in any of its dimensions, so the results can be enhanced, but then the report would be 1,000 pages. We have half a minute, and this is what we see. We need to look for things that bind us. Dreams bind us. We are all people, and we keep forgetting it. But no matter how old we are, where we live, we are governed by emotions. We are herd creatures. We need society. And that's what the report is about. Thank you very much. A round of applause for our panelists.
Mam plan na bezpieczną firmę. To plan firmowy z cybertarczą, która blokuje zagrożenia w sieci.
Cyberbezpieczeństwo? Masz od tego Orange. Teraz cybertarcza za 0 zł we wszystkich planach firmowych, a w wybranych smartfony 50% taniej. Orange tu jest.
It can look like this. Or like this. It is threatened. But it is our responsibility to protect it. For each person, it means something different. But when we reach it, we all know what it looks like, what it sounds like, or how it feels. And if we all fight for it, it will eventually bring us together. Freedom.
Polska Stolica Kultury. Jesteś na miejscu.
So we just had an emergency landing in Poland, in Łódź. Yeah, don't worry guys, we won't be here for long. Lads, hello vlog. So I know we were supposed to show you some wild animals and a bit more sun, but
Yeah, instead we have to spend 2 days in this boring place.
come on.
Did you say boring? I will show you beautiful nature and animals and even more. And you will see what this region has to offer. Deal?
So we said yes, because why not, right? And this girl took us around the whole region. We ate pierogies. We saw some Polish art. We saw some wild animals. We got spiritual. And after all, we fell in love with this place.
Well, Atlas Network is, as the name suggests, a network, and it's global. We work all around the world. We're based in the U.S. It's a network, that is to say, organizations that share common values of limited government, of free enterprise, personal liberty, of personal responsibility.
Atlas Network provides training and support to help build capacity, but most importantly, we give our partners the tools they need to be successful.
Myślisz, że to ktoś wyjątkowy, miłośnik kultury, kto sypie cytatami z pamięci. A to może być ktoś, kto na wakacje pakuje książkę, tę samą co rok temu. To możesz być ty. Bo czytanie nie jest dla wybranych, jest dla wszystkich. Podziel się tym.
Do zgłoszeń? Gotowi? Start!
Ja zgłoszę bibliotekę!
Ja, pierwszy basen w gminie.
Ja amfiteatr od naszej orkiestry.
Wszystko w waszych rękach. Co powstanie dzięki wsparciu totalizatora sportowego w twojej okolicy? Zgłoś obiekt sportowy lub kulturalny. Wejdź na stronę gdygrasz.pl, bo gdy grasz, wszystko gra.
W kinie doceniam prawdziwe emocje.
Na boisku pilnuję czystej gry.
W kuchni poszukuję autentycznych smaków.
Ale w internecie jest to trudniejsze.
W internecie wobec informacji też trzeba być sędzią. Dezinformacja jest jak bramka strzelona ze spalonego.
Więc jeśli coś we mnie wzbudza emocje, daję sobie czas. Może ktoś specjalnie chce mnie zagotować, bym uległa manipulacji.
Filtruj informacje.
Sprawdzaj ich źródła.
Nie masz pewności? Nie udostępniaj.
Postaw na czysty przekaz.
Telewizja Polska to więcej tego, co widzowie cenią najbardziej. Pasjonujące filmy i seriale, a w obsadzie najbardziej gorące nazwiska. Największe sportowe imprezy i momenty, które przejdą do historii. Bieżące wydarzenia, którymi żyje Polska i świat. Przebojowe koncerty, które łączą w zabawie wszystkich Polaków. Znakomite spektakle, które gromadzą rekordową publiczność. Telewizja Polska. Otwórz się na więcej.
PL Music Video Awards, festiwal polskich wideoklipów, spotkania, projekcje, warsztaty, do tego gala finałowa i wybór najlepszych polskich teledysków. Zapraszamy do Łodzi 4-6 grudnia, szczegóły na www.plmva.com.
Kiedy zapala się lampka on air, to jest najlepszy moment.
Nie ma jednego instrumentu, który lubię najbardziej. To zawsze jest kontekst.
Uwielbiam sport bez obrazu właśnie z tej perspektywy, kiedy to ja mogę ten obraz kreować.
Pusty stadion nie jest cichy. Tam gołębie startują.
Jak ja bym chciała, żeby z mojego radia było słychać "będzie okej".
Ono może być cichutko w tle. Radio, które jest przyjacielem tego odbiorcy, przyjacielem człowieka.
Do PKO Banku Polskiego przenosi się nowy klient.
Weź się, przenieś się jest easy. Czaruś, wytłumacz.
Otwierasz konto w PKO Banku Polskim i masz święty spokój. Przeniosą kasę i zlecenia stałe, a pracodawcę poinformują. Ogarniesz to przez internet. Bo to dobry bank jest.
Ej, widzę cię. Wolisz w oddziale? Dawaj do nas.
Otwórz konto w PKO Banku Polskim i dołącz do 12 milionów klientów. PKO, twój bank polski.